Welcome to the bitbunker. Yes, this is recorded while we're closing. Okay, so let's pretend that we're talking about taxes. Like, should you claim Bitcoin on your taxes, yes or no, depending on where you live in the country and world and whatnot. And I'm not a financial advisor, so therefore I cannot tell you whether this is correct or not correct or what you should or shouldn't do according to the legal laws. Same for electric. Here we go. Okay, now this, my friends, is a 20 amp breaker. Let's see if we can zoom in here and I can show you what I'm talking about. Do you see that little 20 right there? It says 125 volt. Well, what matters is that it's a 20 amp breaker. Okay, so keep this in mind for later. 20 amp breaker. Now, what is this? This is the same 20 amp breaker, okay, wired in to, yep, you guessed it, yep, there it is, using, this is 12 gauge wire, I believe, might be 14, let's go with 12, okay, and we wired one onto the green, one onto the white on this side, and the black on this side, okay, and we if you see that, so there's your breaker, so left side, so right there, and then we go black on the other side. Okay, there we go. Okay, now check this out. What's this? Well, this is the exact same thing, right? Okay, so we took these, all right, and we added, okay, 20 amp breaker, and we added one on one side, one on the opposite side, and one in the green. We did that for all three here, okay, and then we wire white to white, okay, black to black, okay, and green to green, okay. Then you add those together with this, okay, and you put it all in there. So it's all enclosed, very safe, very secure. If you ever have anything explode or a fire or danger, like, you're not really gonna bust through this. Then you break through there and you add your SM cable, CM cable, whatever you want to call it, or you add your 20 amp outlet, right? You can, here's your 30 amp cable, right? It's actually like probably 40 or 50 amp cable, but you use it for 30. Okay, so let's go. Now remember this, 20 amp outlet, okay, 125 volts, okay, wired into one of these, wired into three of these, and let's go up here and see what we're talking about. So, whether this is right or wrong, legal or not legal, that's probably up for interpretation. I started doing this in 2013 when I first got into crypto, and I realized that there's no way I could afford to buy all 220 volt equipment. Okay, now as far as our breakers go, we have single phase panel and three phase panel and another three phase panel. Okay, see the three phase turns our fan on and off. Three phase, three breakers all on one. Okay, however, you can run two breakers on a three phase, but you cannot run a single phase on this specific box, at least. This is all single phase, okay? So we're looking at what leg 120, 120, 120, 120, 120. There's your line. See them coming in? Okay, now let me show you the magic here. Here's where the magic happens. Now, do you remember those breaker boxes I was telling you about down there? Same thing. Check it out. Okay, so your CM cable comes in there, and then it allows you to plug in whatever you want. Now, the reason we use three is because this wire here is run up to the junction boxes up there, okay, which is then run to the breakers there. So if you look, row 1, section 2 is what we were on. This is in a three-phase box, so there's 3 prongs to it, 3 prongs. Now, it doesn't matter if it is 3 or 2 or 1, but the easiest way for us to remember was 3 means 220, or 3-phase, but it's only 220. And single is single phase. So this is actually coming out of a 110, okay? This is coming out of 110 over here. You can see row 1 through 4, 110 volt. You see that? Probably not, but that's where it is. Row 1 through 4, 110. That means rows 1, 2, 3, and 4, all 110 lines are powered off of one breaker. Row 1, section 1, just this area right here, just this area, or section 2, section 1 is technically there. Section 1 is 220. So how did I do that? Well, we added 110 line leg here. We added another 110 line leg here, which then powers both sides to 220 volts. This is your ground. Then you add your TP-Link, okay? And your TP-Link is then connected wirelessly. That allows you to remote reboot the rig, and you can plug in your standard rig because the TP-Links take the standard rig plugs, okay? So, if you look here, we have our outlet, then we have our TP-Link. Well, what connection is that? Oh, it's that connection, okay. So then we plug that into there and it fits perfectly. And then we plug this into our 220, and now we have this powered as 220, 120 here, 120 here in the ground. Well, how does this do this? Well, I started using these back in 2013. At the time, it was by a company called Wemo from Belkin, okay? Belkin had these, and then TP-Link came out with their own. So I use TP-Link, and now, whenever I want, if you guys look, here's the A6 running, okay? See the A6 going right there? Yeah. So what's amazing is I can then go to the TP-Link app anywhere I am in the world with a power connection, and I can label it the same. A9, see that? A9, line 1, A9, line 2. Okay, A9, ASIC 2, A9, ASIC 2, right? So I can actually power, watch, I'm going to shut off this rig right here by hitting this button. Boom! Did you see how freaking fast that was? Anywhere in the world, I can do that. I did this back in Virginia when I first started mining. Now watch, I can turn it right back on. Boom! Boom! Did you see it light up? Do you see that? That's how fast the TP-Links work. Remote reboot. So if anything ever locks up or freezes, I remote reboot. TP-Link takes care of it for me, and I'm good to go. So, for the last 5 years, I've used 220 volt through here, standard prong. I've then run 220 volt through 20 amp adapters here, and I run that 220 volt all the way up through here using MC cable, but you can use regular orange cable as well. Now, to close you out, I wanted to take it a step further. And as you may know, I use one outlet for each rig. One outlet, aka 2 power supplies, power supply 1, power supply 2, runs down, and this is 1 rig. So this is 1 rig, 2 rig, 3 rigs, for a total of, right here, 24 amps. This can handle 30 amps. So 24 amps is right on the breaker, right on the barrier, right what we want. Okay, so we have 24 amps if I have 3 rigs hooked up, right? We only have 1 rig. Okay, so divide 24 by 3, and that's how many each amp is using for this specific rig mining this specific coin. However, it gets a little crazy when you get into things like these, because these are using different amps than those. If you can see, I only have 2, I only have 1. Look at that one right there. Let's zoom in there. You see that? So I have 1 outlet, 1 outlet, 1 outlet for a total of 30 amps. So I can only have 3 of these on 1 outlet. before it basically, no. Yeah, I can only have two of them. Two of them for a total of 30 amps. So basically, you got to be careful. Now, let me go back to what I was saying about the rigs. Some rigs draw more power than other rigs depending on the coin you're mining and if you're dual mining and how hot it is and your temperatures and fans. So you have to have an exorbitant amount of buffer room. If you have taken care of your buffer room and you're all good and you're ready to go, then you ask yourself, what coin are you mining? Well, for Walton, it was a very low powered coin, actually, which we were able to do more than 3 rigs on an outlet, right? So if you see, I can only add 3 rigs to this outlet, right? 1 rig, 2 rig, 3 rig, okay? Because it takes 2 power supplies to run all your cards. Well, with Walton, that wasn't the case, see? If you look at prior videos, you'll see on Walton, I was using these things, right? I had them filled. So I could do 1 rig, 2 rig, 3 rig, 4 rig, okay? I could do 4 rigs on just one of these. And one of these would then power in to here. And then I could do another one, and possibly even another one. So I could do an entire almost row of 6 to 7 rigs using these on one breaker, 30 amp. That's the beauty of Walton as far as that coin specifically. But if you were to turn these rigs to any other thing besides Walton, you're going to have an issue, okay? So is this specific quote-unquote legal? I mean, look at all that, right? I mean, each one is 1,200 watts. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. So even right here, we have 10,000 watts running right here through this 30 amp run here, and it's not even warm. It's ice cold, okay? But yet all these cards are running on it, no problems. Amazing. Now these are bought from Walmart for $25, and they are high-end. They are rated at 125 volts, right? Well, it's a 15 amper. It's a 15 amper for this strip. And what happens is, this is metal here, and what happens is it trips a breaker in here, and I can reset it if I need to. So if I overload it, or it gets too hot in here, or there's too many, a rig with too much, you just flip the switch, and you say, okay, let's unplug that rig, flip it back. So obviously we had this down to an art. After doing it for the 5 years that I did, do not think that this is allowed to be done at your house or your place of business or anything like that. And of course, we had an amazing electrician who, of course, wired all this and understood everything that we were doing. And that is how we got away with what we did. Now, an inspector could come in and shut it down, right? And say, you got to go buy PDUs that are managed, because I'm remote managing these TP links running off of 110 volt adapters, which is not up to code. But I could not afford a $500 PDU managed, because that's what I'm doing. So it would have cost me around $5,000 to fill this whole thing, because every PDU only does 30 amps, which is 3 rigs for me, okay, to manage 3 rigs per outlet, and there was just no way. There was no way. These are like $20, okay? This is, you buy them in a packet, Home Depot, 20 amp. The TP Link's $20, and that was 25, okay? So like, that's what I did. Now, that is how we do it at the bitbunker. So currently, we have these ASICs running on that, and we have these ASICs running on that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just count 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, And we have 2 rigs, one Walton rig there and another Walton rig there and a Robert rig here. So that would be 7. So technically, right now it looks like we need 7. Unless we do some crazy configuring with some math here. Yeah, so anyways, that's the lesson of the day, is how did Digital Gold run so many outlets, manage them remotely, not have to be here every day to reboot rigs, and do it for a cost that everybody can afford. So, while being as safe as possible, and that's how we did it. All metal, back to our beginning, 20 amp, 120 on one side, 120 on another, for a total of 240. 240 wired into the box, 1, 2, 3, sent all wired together. Then coming out of this, MC cable, wired up to your main watts there. There you go. Now you know. Okay, let me know in the comments. I can't release this video until, you know, I'm releasing this video way later, after I'm long gone from this building. So I'm speaking to the future, but let me know in the comments what you think about everything I just did. Okay, bye.